Yo, we step up in the scene, check your engine is clean. DPF guys got your ride smoking green. No block, no drag, just pure machine. Come show us your truck, we'll make it pristine. We just wanna know, can your diesel uphold? Bring something dirty, we'll turn it to gold. It's like this, we clean up your flow. Now your engine is gliding. It's time to hit the road.
Oh man. Whew, that's good. All right. It's a rainy day today in Atlanta. So welcome to DPF Guys Sunday Live, where we answer the questions real drivers are asking right from the shop floor, the comment section, and the road. Tonight we're breaking down 10 big questions that could save you thousands in downtime, repairs, or the wrong parts. Whether you're chasing regen issues, wondering about additives, dealing with a cracked EGR cooler, or looking to protect your resale value, we've got it covered. Before I get into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe and follow wherever you're watching, ideally youtube.com/DPF Guys. We do this every Sunday night, and it's the kind of info that keeps trucks moving and money in your pocket. Got a question while we're live? Drop it in the comments below, aside, above, wherever they happen to be. I'll try to answer it on the spot or pull it into an upcoming episode. Or you can call us 24/7 at 404-999-1361. Can text us at that number as well. Again, you can call or text us at 404-999-1361. I'll leave this up here for 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, so you can grab a screenshot of it. If it is after hours, leave a message or even talk to our AI operator, the talented Lynn Diesel, who knows a thing or two herself. And of course, visit dpfguys.com or email us, dispatch@dpfguys.com. Now, let's get into this. Question number 1. Can too much soot damage the DPF permanently, even after it's been cleaned? Let me position my chair here. Realistically, no, not by itself. A DPF's entire job is to trap soot. And just because it's full doesn't mean it's ruined. But what happens after it's full is where the trouble starts. A lot of drivers or shops will panic and start running forced regens, one after another, sometimes back to back using a scan tool or a laptop. And what happens is that kind of regen abuse can push internal temperatures through the roof. With enough heat and pressure and generally abuse, the ceramic filter substrate in the DPF can crack, melt, or collapse entirely. Not only the DPF, if too frequent regens, one on top of another, and if the truck doesn't stop you, you can damage not just the DPF, but also the DOC and the SCR. I've seen it. And once that happens, no cleaning will fix it. The soot might be gone, probably not. But guess what? The DPF is wrecked, and you're looking at a replacement. At DPF Guys, which is here, which is us, we only fail about 2 to 3% of the DPFs we see, and that's because they're cracked, melted, or otherwise damaged in some way that makes them unsafe or just unusable because they're no longer any good. And here's the thing. If we clean your DPF and find that it's unusable, usually we can tell right away just by looking at it during the testing process. But once in a while, one slips past the goalie. If we find that your DPF can't be cleaned, there's no charge. You're not getting billed for a bad filter, period. However, unfortunately, many shops will say your DPF is too dirty to clean and try to sell you a made up, maybe you need a stage 2 or stage 3 cleaning for a lot more money, and then turn around and say you need to buy a new filter anyway. And that's just not how we do business. I don't like adding insult to injury. People are not fond of their DPF systems to start with, so I don't want to make it any worse than it needs to be. One more thing. If you do have massive soot buildup and you haven't gotten your filters cleaned, all of that soot can back up a little further, a little further, a little further till it works its way into the rest of your system. And this can clog up your DOC, which isn't that big of a deal. that can be cleaned as well. But if it starts to work its way back up into the turbo and even cause issues upstream if it starts pushing up into the EGR loop as well, you definitely don't want a huge amount of soot to build up in the turbo. That can cause issues. And also that turbo is spinning at about 30,000 RPMs. It's like a little jet engine. And if a chunk of soot gets in there, it's like getting hit with a bullet. It can then damage the vanes of the turbo, destroying the turbo. So while the soot itself does not destroy the DPF, everything that happens when it's ignored or mishandled can really damage things. The bottom line, a full DPF isn't a bad DPF, but a cracked, melted, or abused from a DPF that's abused from too many regens, that's when you get yourself into trouble. So if you got yourself into a sooty situation, call us before it becomes a bigger one. And how do you call us? Well, looky here. Call or text anytime, day or night, 404-999-1361. All right, question number 2. What about additives? Over here we have Clean Air Fleet. I'll wait for the label to spin around. Clean Air Fleet. I'm such a good spokesmodel. Can additives actually lower regeneration frequency? And the answer to that is yes, if you're using the right one. Not all fuel additives are created equally, and some are just snake oil with a fancy label. And I hate to kind of use the word snake oil because that seems to be bantered around the industry, but some of them just really don't do anything other than waste your money. But what about Clean Air Fleet? That stuff is different. It'll help pre-emissions and even deleted trucks run cleaner and smoother. But it's dialed in specifically for modern diesel engines with aftertreatment systems. That means any modern truck that has a DPF or a DOC and DPF and an SCR, or maybe not an SCR, it can benefit from Clean Air Fleet. But again, like I said, even if your truck is a glider, is pre-emissions, or is deleted, Clean Air Fleet will help you as well. But we're talking about the emission side, so let's get on with that. So that means most of the trucks running today are really, Clean Air Fleet's been optimized for them as well. And so here's what Clean Air Fleet actually does, and how it actually lowers your regen frequency. One, it's going to raise your cetane level in your fuel so it burns hotter and more completely. It adds lubricity, which really doesn't have anything to do with your regen frequency, but it has a lot to do with extending the life of your injectors, your high pressure fuel pump, and all of the moving parts in your fuel system. It'll break up asphaltenes, break up the carbon buildup in your system, which can kind of help with regens, but it'll just make your system run better and cleaner because there's not those particulate, all that carbon gunking up injectors and combustion chambers, which can cause your engine to burn less efficiently, meaning you'll burn more fuel, you'll produce more soot, you'll have to get your DPF cleaned more frequently. It'll demulsify the water in your fuel to get that water out. So what you're pumping through your injectors and into your engine is pure fuel, you don't have any water in there pushing through your injectors and causing issues. And more importantly, most importantly, is this, as far as this question goes, Clean Air Fleet will reduce soot at the source inside the combustion chamber. So when you cut down soot during combustion, less soot ends up in the DPF. This means your system stays cleaner longer, not forever, but longer. In other words, a truck that might need to get a DPF cleaned every 300,000 miles without Clean Air Fleet could probably easily go 500 or 600,000 miles with Clean Air Fleet. And plus all the added benefits, there's a lot of reasons why using Clean Air Fleet does make a lot of sense. And no, I don't get paid to say that. I mean, I sell it, so I get paid to sell it, but or I get paid when I sell it, but it is the product that we use, we recommend. There's other good ones out there. I'm not sure, exactly what your experience might be with them, but I know this works. I know it's made by good people and it's a good product. So cleaner combustion, less soot means less time doing parked regens, fewer passive or rolling regens. And this isn't just, kind of like, well, I think it works. This isn't guesswork. We've seen it. We've seen actual fleets cut down regen frequency by 30%, 30%, or even more based upon actual ECM data and not just the driver going, hey, I think my truck runs better. We actually analyze the ECM data off of your fleet if you've got one, and we can tell you side-by-side comparisons, 2 trucks running the same route, one with clean air fleet, one without, and we can give you a report showing the differences in engine performance. So a cleaner and more complete burn of your fuel will also reduce NOx, or nitrogen oxides, which means less DEF usage, because DEF is the part of your system that reduces the NOx. So if your engine is running cleaner and more efficiently, it produces less NOx byproducts, which means your system is not working as hard. It means you're not burning as much DEF per mile. And you'll definitely feel the difference, especially under load or hauling up a grade. A lot of guys pour in Lucas or whatever they grab at the truck stop, and that stuff might be good for fuel system wear or anti-gel or whatever it might be, but most of it doesn't help soot. Clean Air Fleet is in a different class. It's built for emissions era diesels, period. But of course, it'll work with deleted trucks, gliders, pre-emissions, etc. But it's designed specifically to help emissions trucks. And so, yes, a real additive like Clean Air Fleet can absolutely reduce regens because it cuts soot before it ever reaches the DPF. Less soot means fewer DPF cleanings, better fuel economy, fewer issues, less downtime, and run Clean Air Fleet consistently, and your truck will thank you, and so will your wallet. All right, next one here. What does a bad cleaning job look like? Well, I think this is kind of a matter of opinion, but I would say the difference between a great cleaning job and a bad one or a mediocre one or just an okay one, there's a few dead giveaways when a DPF cleaning just doesn't look right. First, you look at the filter, and does it look dirtier than when you dropped it off? And that's not a joke. We've had customers bring in filters that were supposedly cleaned, but were still packed with soot or worse, left with a strange kind of flower pattern on one side. It looked like a daisy. That flower pattern isn't a sign of uneven flow or anything like that. It just means the filter was thrown in the machine for maybe 10 or 20 minutes and called done. No hands-on care, no real attention. A proper cleaning job means the filter is meticulously hand cleaned by a trained technician using live flow data and a camera to monitor progress. After that, the filter is moved to another step for aqueous flushing for deep, deep rinsing. So flowers, we all like flowers. They're beautiful, just not on your DPF. What's another clear red flag? Any cleaning that's advertised being done in an hour or done on the truck with chemicals, that's not cleaning at all, really. That's more marketing. And it may clear a code temporarily. It may get you back on the road for a while, but it doesn't restore the flow or remove enough ash or fix anything long term. You'll be back getting it done in a very short amount of time. I guess that makes sense as if you're in a big hurry, but that's not what I would call doing it properly, because we want to do it. I always tell people, I want to see you again, just not too soon. Another thing, look, if you get your DPF back, look at the sensor ports. Are the threads cleaned out? Are they retapped if necessary? Are the threads coated with a coating of anti-seize to make future sensor removal easy, even after another 400,000 miles from now? Check the outside of the canister, the housing. Was it completely cleaned and protected with some sort of preservative or anti-rust, so it doesn't rust while you're waiting to put it back in the truck? Now, anything put on the outside of that filter, whether it be a anti-rust treatment or paint or whatever, will burn off once it's on the truck. But I want to make sure that the thing isn't rusting while you're waiting to put it back on. Many customers get DPFs cleaned, and they have a swing program where they have a new or a cleaned filter on the shelf. A truck pulls in, they swap them. So what we want to do is when we get the cleaned filter back to you, not only do you want it to be clean, but we want it to stay rust-free so it's ready to be put on the truck in maybe months or even years later. And here's what most places miss. The surface of your filter, the inlet and outlet of it, should look like it did when it was brand new. What about inside? There should be zero soot or ash left. In fact, if you use the kind of the welding rod test and that thing should go all the way down without any resistance all the way to the bottom and go clunk when it hits the bottom of the filter, meaning that entire channel, that entire honeycomb, a tiny little honeycomb, and there's about 200 of them per square inch. So there's a lot of honeycombs in a DPF. You want all of the soot and ash out. Clean means clean, clean like new. Also, did you get a detailed report with weights down to the nearest gram, flow rates in inches of water column before and after, so you have a true before and after comparison? And finally, I mean, how did the shop treat you? Did they invite you in to see the process? Were they transparent? If not, ask yourself why. Now, again, there might be insurance reasons or something where people aren't allowed in the shop, but I always feel that the emission system is kind of a mystery to many people. So the more that a shop can help you understand it, the better it is. So the bottom line is, if your filter doesn't look and perform like new, it was not cleaned right. At DPF Guys, we do it right, because that's the only way it should be done. I mean, the thing is, if your DPF's not right, not cleaned perfectly, your truck's not going to run as well as it should, and you're not going to make the money you should, and you guys have enough challenges out there already than having to worry about your DPF. If you do want to get a hold of us, you know the number, 404-999-1361. Did you have a chance to screenshot that? You didn't? Hold on. Okay. You probably got it then. All right. This is a good question about the 2015 Freightliners that often have get the DEF quality code that was caused by a OneBox by a fuel mapping problem. The question is, did Freightliner ever fix this 2015 issue? And the answer is yes, of course they did. But by the time the issue was diagnosed and a fix was issued, the damage was already done. So the problem wasn't just bad luck, it was a factory fuel map on many 2015 Freightliners that overfueled the engine under load, especially on long pulls and steep grades. This caused unburned fuel to make its way into the aftertreatment system, overheating the SCR catalyst. By the way, the SCR is the part that reduces NOx, and it's the part that works with the DEF. And I think that explains it pretty well. And so that's the overheating the SCR catalyst inside the OneBox. And here's the thing, they fixed it quietly. By the time most truck owners realized something was wrong, their warranty had expired and they were left footing the bill. Now, of course, they gladly did the update and fixed the bad fuel map. But by the time they did that, often the damage was done, and the warranty has expired. So can you kind of be the judge here? I'm not sure if that was intentional. That's up to you to decide. And this issue is kind of known as the 2015 model year problem, but it's not limited to trucks built strictly in 2015. Trucks built in 2014, late 2014, second half of 2014, and early first half 2016 models can carry the same faulty mapping depending upon the build date and when it rolled off the line. So just don't go by the year, check actually your manufacturing date. And basically, if you've got a 2014, 2015, 2016 Freightliner and it runs really, really well, if you are bobtail or empty on a flat road, but the minute you try to pull some weight up a hill, it pings at you and says, I'm not happy. I have poor DEF quality. I have SCR efficiency problems or NOx conversion or some combination of the above. You're suffering from the 2015 bug. Now, what if you've got a newer truck, a 17, 18, 19, 20? So even if your truck is not one of those factory affected models, you can still cook your SCR if you ignore some basic maintenance. So pay attention. One of the biggest killers of OneBoxes today is low compression from people missing their valve adjustments. Valve adjustments or an overhead is due every 500,000 miles in a DD15, DD13, a Detroit engine. And if you skip them or don't pay attention or aren't aware of this, the valves don't seat properly. That leads to incomplete combustion, more unburned fuel, and once again, high exhaust temperatures hitting the SCR. Remember, the DOC and DPF are a little more tolerant of high heat. They can take the heat. They're built for it, but the SCR starts to suffer at temperatures above 1,000 degrees. And if it gets to 1,200 degrees or more, again, this is Fahrenheit, it's pretty much toast. No cleaning or regeneration will save it. Bottom line, yes, the mapping issue was fixed, but not before a lot of OneBoxes were destroyed. So if you've got a 2014, 2015, or 2016 Freightliner, it's worth asking the right questions. And if you haven't done your overhead in a while, regardless of what Detroit you have, now's the time. I hope that helps. All right, we're getting on to question number 5, but before we hit 5, we are halfway through. Thanks for hanging in there with me. If you're not subscribed to our channel, why not? Hit that subscribe button, hit like and share and all that good stuff, because it helps me a ton and makes me feel good. And I just want to be loved. Let's see if anybody has snuck any questions in via the chat here. Nobody. Oh, well, that's fine. We can just get back down to business here. Number 5. Why does my truck keep going into parked regen even after I just did one? So if your truck keeps asking for a parked regen even after you just completed one, there are likely a few causes. And just hitting regen over and over again is not the solution. What's the first possibility? Your DPF is simply too full. When the filter is completely packed with soot or ash, a normal regen won't cut it. At that point, forcing regens repeatedly using a scanner or app won't fix the problem. In fact, if you keep doing it, it'll make things worse. Every regen puts serious heat in the DPF and wastes fuel if you don't need to do it. And if the DPF is completely clogged, that heat builds up fast. You're risking cracked or melted filters, which means you'll just be buying a new DPF instead of just getting the one you have cleaned. Second, bad data can cause this. Let's say, for instance, you said my DPF was just cleaned, or I recently replaced it, so it should be fine, but the truck still thinks it's plugged up. You might be dealing with a failed pressure differential sensor, also called a delta P sensor. Those are electronic, kind of electromechanical devices. They're just kind of a small plastic box that has some plastic diaphragms in there that can measure the temperature, or not the temperature, the pressure on both sides. And those will sometimes just wear out, or they'll develop a small crack or a leak. Sometimes they get filled up with water, believe it or not, because from condensation that can ruin them. Maybe some of them are connected to the system via rubber hoses or silicone hoses. Those hoses can get dry rotted and cracked. So you might have a perfectly clean DPF, or at least darn close, but the truck is getting bad data saying that the DPF is cleaned due to the pressure differential not being recorded properly. And guess what? It's going to say, I need a regen, when it really doesn't. So you may need to get the DPF inspected, or just, maybe it'd be cheaper to swap out the sensor and see what happens. So that sensor measures how much pressure is building up before and after the DPF. If it's giving bad readings, the ECM, or the engine control module, or maybe it's the ACM, depending upon where it plugs into, after treatment control module, but it ultimately reports back to the ECM, thinks the DPF is full even when it's not. And guess what? You keep getting told that you need to do a regen, and those regens are probably not needed. Third common issue, exhaust leak. Even a small leak in the wrong spot can throw off the entire regen process, because those hot exhaust leaks, or exhaust gases, need to reach the DPF in a very specific way and at a very specific temperature. And if some of that heat sneaks out through a cracked flex pipe, a bad clamp, or a warped flange somewhere before reaching the filter, the DPF never gets hot enough to burn off soot. So the regen might look like it's completed, but it didn't actually do anything, or didn't do enough. So parked regens that keep repeating are a symptom, not a fix. If the request for a regen keeps coming back, just don't hit the button to regen. Get it properly diagnosed. It could be soot. If you haven't had your DPF cleaned in a while, it could be a sensor or a sneaky leak. We see all three, sometimes all on the same truck, and we can help you sort it out. By the way, if you want to get a hold of us to help you sort things out, you can call us or text us anytime, day or night, 7 days a week, 404 999 1361. If you call us right now or text us right now, I won't answer because it's a Sunday, but Lynn Diesel, our AI receptionist, is standing by to probably make you rather uncomfortable because she sounds like a person, but she's not. At least I don't think so. What is number 6? Is it true that a cracked EGR cooler can destroy your DPF? Not directly. A cracked EGR, now I guess if you dumped a whole bunch of coolant, cold coolant onto a hot DPF, could damage it. But usually a cracked EGR cooler doesn't actually damage the DPF itself, but it can set off a chain reaction that ultimately wrecks your after-treatment system if it is left unchecked. And so here's how it works. When an EGR cooler cracks internally in a certain way, the coolant will seep into the exhaust system, and coolant contains propylene glycol, which is kind of sweet, by the way. That's why your dog will drink it, and it will poison your dog. So don't let your dog drink propylene glycol. And propylene glycol is toxic to your after-treatment system as well. The glycol hits the DOC first because it's first in line, and that's the diesel oxidation catalyst. That has aluminum oxide inside as the wash coat, and that aluminum oxide is what holds the precious metals in place. Those precious metals are, say it with me, platinum, palladium, and rhodium. And the coolant begins to dissolve that wash coat, dissolve that aluminum oxide, and those precious metals begin to break free, and flow downstream. So where do those precious metals end up? And again, what are they? Platinum, palladium, rhodium. They go downstream, and guess what? They get trapped in the DPF. So now your DOC doesn't work like it should. It's lost its ability to generate enough heat for a proper regen. But the DPF now has those loose metals packed inside it, and it starts to heat up like crazy, especially at the outlet. And that's what causes what we call a temperature inversion, meaning the DOC should be the hottest, and the DPF should be the second hottest, and those temperatures reverse. So this is what it looks like on a regen during a temperature inversion. You're going to see engine outlet temperature during a regen, 700, 800 degrees, depending on what your truck is, what your engine is. Your DOC outlet or DPF inlet, those are both reading the same thing. It's just a matter of where the sensor probe pokes in. If you have a DOC here and a DPF here, and the sensor probe pokes into the DOC, then that's called DOC outlet. But if the sensor probe for the DOC outlet happens to poke into the canister of the DPF, that's now considered DPF outlet. Don't worry about it. It's measuring the same darn thing. So let's say you've got your engine temp, your DOC inlet, or the exhaust coming off your engine, 700-800 degrees. That's normal. The DOC outlet, maybe, if the engine is dosing diesel from the 7th injector or in cylinder with some of the Cummins engines, maybe you see some temperature increase. Maybe it's 750, 850. But you look at the third sensor, temp sensor in line, and that's the DPF outlet. And guess what? That one's cooking. That one's showing you 1,000 degrees. And guess what happens? That means your DPF is now identifying as a DOC. So the precious metals, the platinum, palladium, and rhodium that were in the DOC have now jumped a foot or two down the line into the DPF. Your DPF is now producing the heat that the DOC should have been producing. That is backwards. Normally, the DOC creates most of the heat, and the DPF rides the wave. When the DPF is producing more heat than the DOC, that is a warning sign. So no, the DPF doesn't break from the cracked EGR cooler, but the whole system gets out of balance. And so if you're losing coolant, seeing white smoke or steam from the stack, and your regens are acting weird, you may be deep in a temperature inversion. Coolant in the exhaust is a silent killer of DOC function, not so much the DPF. So don't wait for it to destroy your regen cycle. Watch your coolant levels. Look for white smoke coming out of your stack or your tailpipe, and catch it early and save yourself an expensive and frustrating headache. All right, I keep wanting to change. Notice I'm not putting the questions on the screen this time. Trying something different. Number 7. Hold on a second here. Cheers. Hey, Jeremy, if you're out there, shout out. Hope your Sunday's doing good. And, oh, by the way, it is my daughter's 27th birthday today. Can you believe it? So, Harper, if you see this, I love you. Happy birthday. You're the best. All right, number 7. Can after treatment problems affect resale value? Absolutely. After treatment issues can affect resale big time, and not just in what you get for the truck, but in whether you can sell it at all. First and most obvious, if your truck is deleted, you actually may not be able to legally sell or trade it, period. Most reputable dealers won't touch a deleted truck, and if you sell it privately and the new owner does get caught in some way, you will be held liable, because he'll say, I didn't delete it, and they'll say, who did delete it? And he'll go, that guy, and guess what? Now you're in trouble, and that's a major risk. Even on trucks that haven't been deleted, buyers are getting smarter. They want to know, has the DPF been cleaned, when, and do you have proof? So one of the oldest tricks in the dealer book is for the seller to say, yep, the DPF's clean, when all they really did was run a forced regen before your test drive. And to be fair, a lot of people just kind of think a forced regen is the equivalent to cleaning a DPF, but it's not. But if they just did that, it'll run fine for a few hundred miles, just long enough to become your problem. The DPF will plug up again, and now you're stuck with downtime and an unexpected bill. This is especially common when you're buying from a fleet and the truck has around 400,000 to 500,000 miles on it. Raise your hand if you bought a truck from a fleet and it had 400,000 to 500,000 miles on it, and you drove it to, let's say, 600, 650, 700,000 miles, and all of a sudden you're in limp mode because the DPF is full, and you're going, my truck still smells practically new. What the hell? Well, that's the point where the truck at 400,000 or 500,000 miles coming from a fleet, it's unlikely that it's ever had a true off-truck DPF cleaning, and it's due. The DPF was probably due for a cleaning at 400,000 miles, and you just drove it to the point where it really needed DPF cleaning. So if you're buying a truck and cannot get documentation that the filters were professionally cleaned, I always recommend asking for a $1,500 to $2,000 credit going towards, or a reduction in cost that you can use to get it done yourself. That's a small investment that can save you thousands and keep you rolling for another 200,000 to 400,000 miles or more if you use Clean Air Fleet. So resale value is more than paint and miles. It's the after treatment. If the after treatment is a mystery, the price should reflect it, or you should walk away. And if you're the one selling, clean filters and good records will pay you back every single time. Yeah, there you go. Let me quick check, see if anybody left me a message. Nope, everyone's sleepy today. Number 8, whoever they are, say cleaning too often wears out the filter. Cleaning your DPF too often will wear it out. Is that truth or a myth? So I guess I would have to say that depends. Depends on how you're cleaning it, how you're cleaning the filter. The idea that just cleaning a DPF too often wears it out, that's mostly a myth. But there are some hidden truths in, like any myth, any conspiracy, any theory, there's some hidden truth in there, depending upon the method used. For example, ultrasonic cleaning can absolutely wear out or thin the ceramic media inside the DPF. The ultrasonic cleaning idea is, in theory, a good one, and it will definitely clean the canister, will clean the surface areas. But in order to fully get down deep into that ceramic material, you have to pump lots of watts of sound energy into that thing. And that will cause the substrate to degrade. So that ultrasonic cleaning of a DPF is a very aggressive process. And while it sounds high tech, it's not designed for long term for DPFs. Over time, the ultrasonic vibration will weaken the substrate, shorten filter life, and lead to internal damage. Most other cleaning methods like pneumatic thermal baking, thermal, which is the baking thing, and aqueous flushing don't wear out the filter when done correctly. And of course, that's the key word. As an aside, it's not on my list, but anybody who uses a power washer to clean their DPF is basically destroying it. So that simply doesn't count. And I don't care what you say. People are like, I use a power washer all the time. Bring it to me, put it on my test machine. I guarantee that filter is wrecked. I have not seen one that was not damaged beyond repair that has been cleaned by a power washer. So in fact, regular cleanings are what help you avoid problems down the line. But here's the catch. Most shops don't fully clean the ash out of your filter. They might blast the soot out, but leave residual ash behind, especially deep in the cells. Over time, when it's back in the truck, the ash that's left behind begins to harden or sinter. And just if you're curious what sintering is what happens when ash particles bake and fuse together inside the filter under repeated heat. Think of it like ceramic dust turning into glass. Once it sinters, it becomes permanent. You can't blow it out, wash it out, or burn it off. And the more sintered ash you have, the less usable space there is inside the DPF for soot in the future. That shortens your filter's working life, even though your filter looks fine from the outside. So cleaning too often is not the problem. Cleaning the wrong way is. If you want to clean your filter multiple times, I do recommend doing it multiple times with ultrasonic if you can. Use a shop that actually does full ash removal with flow testing. Do it right, and your DPF will last hundreds of thousands of miles without any issue whatsoever. I just keep wanting to switch down here to change my questions, but that's old habit, right? Number 9. What does a good DPF warranty look like? So a good DPF warranty should be fairly straightforward, and if a company isn't offering it, you should be asking why. For brand new DPFs, you should expect a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty. That's pretty standard in the industry for quality filters, and it shows confidence in the product. For a refurbished or remanufactured DPF, we call them highway legends. You should expect a 1-year limited mileage warranty. And that's fair coverage for a cleaned and rebuilt filter, especially when it includes new substrate or housing repairs. But here's what you have to understand. No warranty covers everything. If your DPF gets physically damaged, like hitting road debris, backing into something, or getting crushed in a wreck, that's not covered. That's accident damage, and no manufacturer is going to warranty that. The biggest warranty, like the number one cause of DPF failures, whether they be new or used or OEM, original, whatever it is, upstream engine issues. So if you had your old DPF was damaged by something upstream, injectors, turbo, misfires, whatever you got, and you just throw a new DPF on there, and you're like, well, I've got a 3-year warranty. It'll cover it if it fails again. But if your turbo fails and dumps oil into the DPF, that's not the filter's fault either. If your EGR cooler cracks and pushes coolant into the system, the warranty won't cover the damage. If your injectors are worn out and flooding the DPF with unburned fuel, same deal. That's not the filter problem. That's an engine maintenance problem. That's why we always say a DPF is only as good as the engine it's bolted to. So you've got to keep your upstream components in check and running well. At DPF Guys, every new filter comes with a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, and every remanufactured filter comes with a 1-year coverage, and we stand behind it. But we also educate customers on what to avoid to make sure that warranty is good for as long as possible. A good DPF warranty is only part of the picture. Know what's covered, know what voids it, and keep your engine in shape if you want that warranty to actually mean something if you want to use it in the future. All right, we're on our last question. Let me quick check to see if anybody snuck a question in here. And no, they didn't. I'm so lonely. I hope somebody's watching. Okay, is there such a thing as too much additive? Well, with Clean Air Fleet, and I don't know why the label, whenever I'm like Clean Air Fleet, there it is. With Clean Air Fleet, no. You can run it heavy if you need to, and in some cases you should. Clean Air Fleet is designed with flexibility in mind. You can run Clean Air Fleet at the normal ratio for ongoing maintenance, or at double or even triple the dose for extreme cases where you'll really want to shock the system, like after bad fuel injector work or heavy soot buildup. You can even use it at 100% strength. In other words, like right from the bottle into the injectors as a direct injector cleaner. In fact, and it won't harm your engine. In fact, what we'll do in some cases when the people are using it for the first time is we'll fill up their fuel filter housing, their Davco, with Clean Air Fleet. We'll crank the engine over so it sucks some of that fuel out up into the injectors. We'll cut it off and let it sit for an hour and let that cleaner work and start to break down those asphaltenes and the carbon buildup. And then we fire the thing up, and you're good to go. Now, usually when you use Clean Air Fleet for the first time, especially at these high doses, it'll break down so much of the crud that's built up in your engine, it will literally plug up your fuel filter after the first tank or so of fuel. So be aware of that. I always tell people when they use Clean Air Fleet for the first time that they should buy an additional fuel filter just so they can change it out. And you'll be fine from that point forward, but you may need to get a new fuel filter sooner than you think because all of that junk that is flushing out of your engine's got to go somewhere. It goes in the fuel filter. So it won't harm your after treatment system, your engine, sensors, and that's one of the things that really sets it apart from most additives on the market. But pay attention, that doesn't mean all additives are safe to overdose. In fact, many popular products, especially the ones you hear advertised on satellite radio, can be dangerous to your engine, your after treatment, if overused. So some of these products contain high concentrations of combustion catalysts or even metal-based compounds. And if you go over the recommended dose, even a little, they can damage your injectors, throw off your combustion timing, overheat your DPF, wreck your SCR, and a few other things. We've seen trucks come in with clogged filters, melted sensors, and regen issues that were all traced back to overdosing the wrong additive. The problem is most drivers don't realize that if a little extra is a little extra for good measure, can be a very expensive mistake with the wrong formula. Bottom line, Clean Air Fleet is built to be forgiving, even at high doses, but other additives, be careful. If the additive says 1 ounce per 25 gallons of fuel, don't go guessing. One wrong move, and you'll be spending more on repairs than you ever saved on fuel. Whew, that wasn't too bad. Thank you for the company. So, all right, what did we learn tonight? We broke down bad regens, failed sensors, soot overloads, cleaning scams, risky additives, and what makes a DPF warranty worth the paper it's printed on. Hopefully that helped and you got some clarity and maybe saved yourself a few $1,000 in the process in the future, hopefully. Still got questions? Drop them in the comments right now, and I'll hit them live if I can. Of course, I'll be going off the air in a minute here. Or I will see them when they come in, and I'll bring them into a future episode. And of course, you can call us or text us anytime at 404-999-1361. If you didn't screenshot this before, I'm going to leave this up for a few Mississippis, and you can screenshot this and lock it in. You can get a hold of us. Text or call 404-999-1361. And I'll leave that up for 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and I'm back. After hours, leave a message or chat with Lynn Diesel, our AI operator, who's trained on everything emissions related. And you can ask her some questions, and she will definitely get your message. Or just text us. Need help fast? Go to dpfguys.com or email us at dispatch@dpfguys.com. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss another Sunday night. Thanks for tuning in to the DPF Guys Sunday Live. Same time, same channel. See you next week. Actually, I think next week will be off the air. I've got to head out of town. I may not be doing an episode next week, but you'll find out. But still subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future. All right. Have a great week and call us if you need us.
Haze, just clear skies ahead with DPF guys. Your exhaust game's on tread. We got the tools, the skills, the might to get your truck rolling clean into the night. Throttle up, feel that clean airflow. Our service so slick, your ride seals the show. DPF guys, we got the fit so fine. Hit the road with confidence. Now the world's your shrine. Bringing that rig, let's get on track.